Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look at how to dial in our fuel tuning within the Motec M1 as quickly as possible. So we've covered a lot of concept, a lot of topics within the training course up to this point. Now I'm going to show you how to dial in your main V table here as quick as possible, getting your charge cooling set up, getting your injection timing sorted out and optimized for the engine you're calibrating, as well as finally taking a look at our transient fuel tuning, which is known as our fuel film tuning within the Motec programming. So we have a way we can do this really complex and in-depth, or we can go about this in a really quick manner. Now, I'm not suggesting that you go in and do things quick and just skip over a lot of the steps and things that you need to know, but you can see how quickly we can actually get things sorted out here. So we're starting off with a lot of blank tables, so to speak here, and we're gonna learn how to populate them fairly quickly, get our engine to fire up and run, sort out our volumetric efficiency table, dial in our closed loop, so jumping into our closed loop lambda, sorting out our period table, making sure the closed loop's going to be responsive and not going to be hyper reactive. Everything's going to work fairly well in the closed loop. We'll get all that dialed in, and then we can turn our attention to injection timing. And once that's sorted out, then we can deal with our fuel film tuning. So we're going to kind of be moving in that order of operations. But let's jump in here and let's take a look at what we have going on for this training module. So I'm working with a Honda K24 engine. I've configured and set up all of my sensors, my inputs, my outputs. Everything here works on my vehicle. I've also went in here and set up my intake VVT control. So this is something to kind of pre-configure, and I went through and I set this up. I have a pre-configured intake cam table here in terms of my targets, and I'm on low cam, VTEC's off right now. I have to make sure that this is sorted out before I really can dig into my VE tuning. So I have something set up there that's going to work, that is going to allow me to sort out my VE values. If we make changes in our inlet cam targets here and changing our variable cam mapping and the overlap, that will affect our breathing of our engine, and therefore the volumetric efficiency table here has to be then adjusted after those changes are made. So I'm using a prefixed variable cam target table. Again, I've assigned all my inputs and outputs. We've went into our basic setup here. I have a flex fuel sensor installed, so I've configured all of that. I'm using engine load normalized as my inlet manifold pressure, map pressure. I've expressed the two fuels that the flex fuel is going to be working between. So we have petrol and then we have ethanol, so it knows all of those bits of information. So we have all of the basic details sorted out. The injector data has been sorted out ahead of time. This is for Acura RDX 410cc injectors, so that's all been, again, configured. Everything else here has been sorted out ahead of time. So now really what we can focus on is doing the basics of the tuning within the VE table, within our target lambda table, setting up our spark timing table, setting up our closed loop, and then making sure that other basic things are sorted out and optimized, such as injection timing, charge cooling gain, and then finally our transient throttle tuning. So it looks like we have a lot of things to go through here. So let's just dig in and start to configure everything so we can get things set up here. So first and foremost, I'm going to jump into my ignition tuning table here, and let's sort this out first. We want to put reasonable values in here that are safe, that we can get things calibrated, that aren't going to put us into a dangerous condition, so we don't want to worry about knock or pre-ignition. Looking at my table, this table is going here from 120 to 0 in engine load normalized. Now my engine load normalized is utilizing my inlet manifold pressure sensor, or the map pressure sensor, for the table input. I also set the table up here going out to 9,000 RPM. I anticipate revving the engine to 85 once VTEC's active. Now VTEC's disabled right now on purpose just to map out and dial in the low cam or non-VTEC operation. Realistically, we're not going to go above 6,500 here during this tutorial. With our low cam or non-VTEC. So we need to really sort out the values here. Obviously, we're going to extrapolate those values into the higher RPM where VTEC's going to actually engage and operate. So I am going to set this up pretty reasonably. I'm going to go here from 0 to about 1,000 RPM and from roughly 60 kPa and below. And I'll put my values here at idle about 20 degrees. We need to set these values a little bit higher than where we want the ignition timing to be at. For the idle ignition control, we have that all configured here already. The median ignition timing, looking at our idle ignition control here, if we go down and take a look, we're going to find, let's just go down through all of our parameters and variables here that we can go in and adjust. So looking into our idle tuning here, just making sure that I have everything sorted out. Let's go in here and expand our tables out. Here we go, ignition timing limit. So this is going to be our looking at coolant temperature versus ignition timing. This is where we have our median ignition timing at. The ignition timing table, what we have in the ignition area here, that's going to be the high adjustment point or the ceiling of where we can adjust our ignition timing to. So we want to have this at least 5 to 10 degrees higher than what we're calling out for in our idle ignition trims. That's going to be where it starts the adjustment from. It's able to then add up to what we specify here in our table. It's then also able to reduce down in spark timing to what we command here as the minimum. So essentially we have about a 10-degree adjustment we're allowing the ignition time to make, actually about a 20-degree adjustment here if we go to the minimum. But either way, we have a ceiling and a floor, and ignition timing right here, and idle should be our ceiling or the highest we want to run it at. So 20 degrees is fine. Now on part throttle here, let's say about 2,500 RPM and higher from roughly maybe 60, 70 kPa and across. So just going all throughout here, we're going to set our values to 30 degrees. 30 degrees of spark timing is fairly safe for most engine. Now my engine is going to be a 12.5 compression engine on pump gas right now. 30 degrees is fine to start off with. I don't want to go much higher than that, but that will be pretty reasonable so I can dial in my part throttle fueling and not worry about knock or pre-ignition. Now at full throttle, I want to be conservative with this. I'm going to say here from 80 kPa and higher, 2,500 RPM and higher. I'll set this to something like 12, maybe even 14.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.